Hey, folks, we're back for another great As Goes Israel, So Goes the World with none other than General Avi Lipkin. How you like that, Avi?
Indeed, I am a general in God's army.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you're a soldier of love. I know that about you, too.
I have to tell you a story. I don't know if you read my first book, but it's the stories in the book, and which I wrote in 1997. But in 1991, in April,
Uh-huh.
and this was just after Desert Storm. And I had just come back to the States. I'd been here in November 1990, and I made certain predictions, and all the predictions came true. Is
Wow.
that because I'm a prophet? No, I'm not a prophet. They happened because I was an Israeli army spokesman,
Wow.
and I had been briefed by my commanders in Israel about what exactly was going to happen with Desert Storm.
Wow.
Anyway, everyone thought I was a prophet. So I get invited, like I get into New York and I get a call from a PR lady. It says, "Come to Dallas immediately. You're speaking tomorrow night at the Dallas Council on World Affairs." And I said, "Well, I don't know."
Wow.
I said, "Well, I don't know what that is." "Oh, no, no, it's a very important economic forum." I didn't know that it was the one world government. Anyway,
Whoa.
so I flew down to Dallas. I spoke the next night there at the Dallas Council on World Affairs. And God has such an unbelievable sense of humor, because when I got there, the general who invited me, he said to me, what do you think about, that kind of talking?" And then well, generals talk like that. And he said to me, "So what is it like to be a general in the Israeli army? You said I'm a general." So he said I was a general. And I said to him, "Well, no, I'm not a general. I'm just a lieutenant in the army spokesman's office." He said, "Well,
Wow.
aren't you A. Lipkin? A is Avi Lipkin."
Right.
But it happened at that time that the chief of staff of the Israeli army was Amnon Lipkin.
Oh.
So the people, but for people from Dallas, Amnon, Avi, it's all the same. And so basically, I got invited to this very hotshot type dinner and reception, and they thought I was chief of staff of the Israeli army. And the other funny thing was that I was a pinch hitter for Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin was a drunk, and he had been in Dallas, gave two lectures, and he was supposed to give two other lectures. And then he got a little tipsy. For him, getting tipsy means getting on a plane and going straight back to Moscow for the hospital, because he
Uh-huh.
was an alcoholic.
Yeah, he was.
So the third night was a no-show. They needed a speaker for the fourth night. I was the speaker. So, and this happened just like around Purim. Purim, the famous holiday
Right, right.
of Achashverosh getting drunk and everything like that. And so God has a sense of humor. He made Boris Yeltsin drunk, and then the Texas people thought I was commander in chief of the Israeli army. And I went and gave them actually a very good lecture. They invited me back, by the way. But the important thing in the meeting, this is what's in my book. And, they said to me, "We don't care about anything you just said. You're a very good speaker, but you don't know realities. Realities are what made America great is the barrel of oil, the steady price of oil, and the steady supply of oil. And we're not going to let the Jews get in the way of that." Sound like an anti-Semite to me. So
Whoa.
so
Golly.
so I had that evening as my dinner guests four Christians from Dallas who were big contributors, to Marlon Maddox radio. I don't know if you
Right.
remember Marlon Maddox.
Yeah, I remember the
And
name.
so one guy got up, of my invited guests, and he looked at the people in the room. He said, "You call yourselves Christians? You say what made America great was the barrel of oil? You should be ashamed of yourselves. What made America great was not the barrel of oil. What made America great was Jesus Christ." And he sat down. That's all. He just said that.
Wow.
And and then his daughter got up and said, "Besides, it says in the Bible, those who bless Israel are blessed, and those who curse Israel are cursed." And I said, "This was the greatest experience in my life." And So I thought that this was going to be a very important general message for you.
Well,
Because
it is straight from the mouth of A. Lipkin, you know, and of course you're a general in my book, you know.
thank
He,
you.
yeah, without a doubt. So did you go home and relay the news to your wife that you are in fact recognized in Dallas, Texas as a general and that you
Oh,
should
of
be
course I
treated as
did.
such?
Of course I did. She said, "Okay, General, go do the dishes." And just remember, I have the last word here. Yes, dear.
Uh-huh. There you go. There
So,
you go.
so,
You know
so
what I saw the movie my big fat Greek wedding and the woman which they weren't, you know, they actually weren't Greek. They were longtime comedians and comedians on American television. They did such a good job, but she said, "Man is the head, but the woman is the neck."
that's right.
She can turn the head any way she wants.
By the way, I have to tell you one of my favorite lines, and I say this every night in every church where I'm speaking. I say, okay, now listen, guys, you might not like this, but I'm going to give you the key to a happy marriage. So everybody looks at me, what's the key to a happy marriage? And the key to happy marriage is the following: when the man makes a mistake, he should be a man about it and apologize. When the woman makes the mistake, he should apologize even more quickly.
Well, I saw a meme about Southern women, and it's true. When she says, "What did you say?" She wasn't saying that she didn't hear you. She's saying, "Are you close to Jesus?" But you know what?
That's right.
We can have the joy of the Lord. We can have the joy of Hashem. We can have the joy because we know who is in control and who not only turns the necks. He laughs at the nations ragings because he is in control and he is the author and the finisher of our faith and he is God. But you know what? Speaking of one of his children and in the land of Israel, what's happening there on the street?
Hey, listen, it's not what's happening here in the street, though we have our usual stuff with the Palestinians. The
Yeah.
thing that's really crazy right now is Putin. This is breaking news. This is, today, Friday, what's the date today? 30th of September.
Yes, as
Putin
recording the
announced
show. Yeah.
Putin announced the annexation of 4 provinces or districts in southeastern Ukraine. And he said any attack by the Ukrainians on those 4 districts is an attack on Mother Russia, which means he will declare war because, until now he
Wow.
hasn't declared war. He said it's just a special military operation. So we really need to pray. Um, I have to tell you, changing the subject a little bit,
Right.
we had an estimate of 90,000 immigrants just before COVID for the year. And then came COVID, everything stopped.
Hmm.
And for 2 years, 3 years, virtually no immigration. Last year, I think was 24,000. This year, until now, we already have 60,000 immigrants coming to Israel, which is a record for the last 2 decades. Um, you have to understand something. The people in Russia are some people who know nothing else other than Mother Russia.
Right.
But there are many people, not just Jewish people, but very intelligent, good Russian people, academics, professionals. They're getting out of Russia like crazy. They're going to any possible country just to get away from the forced mobilization, because the Russians are going to have to kill every Ukrainian to win. And you have 1 million Ukrainians already armed and ready to fight. And these 300,000 or million that he's mobilizing, it'll take weeks and months before they're ready to be brought. And they'll never really be ready because the Russian military is so inherently corrupt and so inherently sloppy. Um, uh, Russia is being ground down little by little because of this war with Ukraine. And everybody realizes that the wolf is not so bad as everyone thought it was. Of course, the problem is nuclear weapons, and
Right.
we're hoping that this never happened, because once somebody starts sending nuclear weapons, then all bets are off. But so and we are here very close. We have received notification that the Russian Air Force is now flying together with the Syrian Air Force to protect them. I mean, we're going to shoot down the Russians too if they really come gunning for our planes. Uh, I mean, they're losing enough planes already as it is in the Ukraine, but it cannot be that Iran is sending all this weaponry to Lebanon, to the Hezbollah,
Right.
and the Syrians are, turning a blind eye or encouraging it. I mean, Hezbollah has 200,000 rockets. It's crazy. Like, it's like, do you remember when we were in junior high, middle school? Now, when you got your hands on some firecrackers, were you going to just put them away somewhere and say, "Oh, I got firecrackers"? No, you're going to go out that very evening and shoot them all off.
Try to find excuses to use it.
200,000. And the crazy thing is, Israel basically has acquiesced to all the Lebanese requirements for the development of gas under the Mediterranean there. And I mean, Hezbollah doesn't want it. Hezbollah wants a war, but that war is going to destroy Lebanon. It's going to harm Israel. In the end, it's going to destroy Hezbollah also, and probably lead to the war with Iran.
You
So
know, you know,
when you want to pray for Israel, let me tell you, you are doing exactly the most important thing that anyone can do, is pray for Israel.
well, that's the very name of our show. As goes Israel, so goes the world, folks. Has anyone in the Israeli government or media called out the 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 left in America for literally enabling Iran to arm Hezbollah?
Do you remember what I said at the very beginning of this show? What made America great is the barrel of oil, and Israel is totally inconsequential to anything.
Which is wrong. Yeah.
And well, when I was there in Dallas in 1991, it was the Republican Party. It was, who was president? No, was it Clinton? I don't know. I've been 32 years on the road, but it was a Republican money group, and
Wow.
now it's Democrats running the show in Washington D.C.
But the globalists are all the same. They're in both parties.
Yeah,
They drink together. They go to lunch together. Folks, don't be fooled. It's
right,
not one party or the other. It's just who you can trust, and that's pretty much nobody.
right. So all I can say is, prayer avails much. And basically, Israel has done everything that it can to avoid a war with Lebanon, with Hezbollah, with Iran. But it's kind of like there are people in Iran who think that one atomic bomb can destroy Israel, because they're going to throw atom bombs at us also. Maybe the Russians also. We don't know what to expect, and so we're trying to get ready to avoid war, or if there is a war, to be able to intercept all of these missiles.
Folks have no idea what it's like to live in a sniper site, to live in a state where you're in a region where it seems everyone hates you. Now they all want your resources. They all love it when you show up to a natural disaster. But at the end of the day, their ideology, uh, you know, calls for your destruction. And folks, you have no idea what it's like to live under that. I'm amazed that Israelis do, but I also admire the culture. I call it a warrior culture. Everyone serves. The citizens serve 2 years in the IDF. Is that still the policy?
Approximately. Very often, boys sign up for more, especially if they go for courses and become officers.
Right.
But women also. I think women serve a year and a half, and the men serve 2 years. It was brought down from 3. But again, you have to remember, our population has almost tripled in the last 50 years. Since I
Right.
mean, I made Aliyah. I moved to Israel 54 years ago,
Yeah.
and the population was 3 million Jews. Today, it's 7.5 million with the Christians. So it's 7 million Jews and about 500,000 people who are not considered Jews by the rabbis, but they get their guts blown out on the battlefield together with us. I mean, they fight, Christians fight alongside us against the enemy, because Islam says kill the Jew on Saturday and kill the Christian on Sunday.
That is true. That
Yeah,
is true. So
that's why I formed the Judeo-Christian Bible Block Party.
that's exactly right. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Glad you said that.
By the way, I have to tell you that I'm happy to announce there are 40 parties running for the elections. So my party is one of the 40. Actually, nobody got disqualified, so all the 40 parties are in. And I'm very excited, because on the one hand, I have no money. People who promised me money didn't come through. There were a few little groups that gave me $2,000 altogether. So basically, I cannot rent a vehicle. I cannot do radio, TV, newspapers. I can't do anything, which is what you need to do if you want to get into the Knesset.
Right.
But what I am doing is I'm on Facebook all the time, and LinkedIn, and what else is there? There are a few other of these, Instagram, and I'm writing to everybody.
Are
And
you being censored on Facebook over there?
No, because I don't say politically incorrect things. I just say Christians have a right and a need to be represented in our government, and so it's really all very proper, and it's the truth. I mean, what comes later with the enemies of Israel, all that's in God's hands.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing. And
Well, I took an oath. I took an oath to God that I do it, and I'm doing it. And God is kind of like the mafia. It's like when the mafia do something. Are you going to go to the mafia and say, "No, I'm not in the mood to do this"? No. You do it, or you die, or your family dies, or
you
somebody
do it
dies.
or you die. Yeah. Forget about it.
And my family is so blessed by God. Wonderful wife, I don't know how wonderful she is. She's always threatening me, but she hasn't killed me in 50 years. So I think she's wonderful. And I have the two best sons in the world, and I have 9 grandkids and beautiful house, and I have my health. Everything is just fine. And God is saying, "Oh, you want to give it up?"
Well, there's a greater treasure for you, Avi.
Yeah,
And there's a greater one. And of
yeah.
course, we're very grateful for you. So these groups that have promised money, are they mostly in America, or are they all over the world?
No, America, and mostly in Texas.
Okay.
I got $1,100 from a little group in New York. I got $1,000 from a guy who works in the courts, a stenographer. And I got $120 from some lady and some widow in Texas. That's what I've gotten. And people ask me, "What do you need?" I said, "I need about $100,000 if you really want me to get elected to the Knesset." So maybe there are people who don't think that getting elected to the Knesset is so important. It's okay.
Well, that
I'm
or
working.
they just mean well, and maybe they forget, or they let themselves get too busy to fulfill their promise. Folks, if you're one of those Texas groups, because this network is seen all over Texas and other places, then come through. Come through. The Lord said, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." And Texas holds to those values. Your word is your bond. If you've committed money to Avi, please follow through with that, because there's a blessing for you. And there's something else if you don't. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And in this day and age where you spend $50, $60, $70 your average drive through for your family, or streaming poison into your home, with networks that are definitely the anti-you and anti-family, you could be investing in something much better. And I encourage you to do that. So please, respectfully, follow through. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Sometimes, Avi, it's hard to there's a price. It's not always easy to keep your word, but folks, you keep your word. You know, uh, I know what it's like to make some sacrifices in order to keep my word. But there is a blessing for that. And Avi, you're the only one that's doing what you're doing in
Right.
Israel, and
That's true.
we know that our
There
network
are,
loves you.
there are 40 political parties. 39 parties have not even one Christian on their candidate list.
Wow.
I'm the only
Wow.
one that 50% of my candidates are believers. And I'm not a believer, I'm not a Christian. And yet I love Christians so much, I want them on that list.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm glad you love Christians, and I'm glad that the Christians and others love you. But really, folks, um, come through on this. Come through on this. And most people, Avi, can't remember what they spent yesterday. They have to check their bank balance to even know what they spent. And if you look, back in the old church circles, I can tell, your faith walk from looking at your checkbook. Well, I don't know about that. There's two sides of that philosophy, but I can tell you if Amazon is more important than charity, I can tell you if takeout is more important than charity or benevolence or good causes. I can definitely tell you that. You can tell that. It might shock you folks if you sit down and stop the world and count what you spend your money on and how much you use that card that is so convenient. Well, once you use that card, or that checkbook or contribute to this campaign, warriors fight because they fight. They don't fight because they always know the outcome. They fight the good fight because they fight. And you have been fighting the good fight for a long time. And so uh hop on the Avi train, folks, and fulfill that commitment, please, because you'll be glad that you did, no matter what. But Avi, it'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful to see a win there, politically as well. I know that a lot of awareness in America about Israel is because of you, and I know that through your family, history is being made. In archaeology, and your family is a blessing to the world. So I pray the world is even more of a blessing to you. I don't know what the public's opinion is of this current administration in Israel. I don't know if you're hearing any rumblings or not. We found out yesterday that we were allies with North Korea. I'm joking, but the vice president's speech about being close allies with North Korea, didn't even realize, talk about being out of touch, folks. That's why we need term limits. But what is the confidence level in this current administration in Israel?
Well, firstly, Israel understands, the Israelis understand that we are attached to America at the hip.
Right.
And our military, no matter who is the president or which party is in power in America, the Israeli military marches in lockstep with the American military.
Right.
Because governments change every 4 years or every 8 years, and a lot of these military plans are for 5 to 10 years
Right.
to prepare these military plans. And I think it's fair to say that at least in the military, the people have their heads screwed on right. And their best efforts are to prevent the politicians from ruining everything.
Boy, some things never change.
Yeah.
Well, we know how to pray. Um, in past shows, you said people are still just preoccupied with their everyday lives, especially if they're
Yeah.
accustomed to dealing with a constant threat of rocket barrages over the border. I don't know if you can verify this or not, Avi, but I've always had the belief that Israel was always a step ahead, even with weapons and weaponry. I remember
Very,
years ago, it may have been
very
more
correct.
than 20 years ago, that Israel demonstrated their force field around their tank. And of course, the Iron Dome is still a wonder, of sorts. And, I heard it said almost 3 decades ago that that Israel doesn't need America. America needs Israel. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I know that there's no coincidence. All the miraculous things that happened during the 6 Day War that the world doesn't even know about. We ought to do a show on that sometime.
Sure.
But God's hand is with Israel, folks.
Amen.
And I think it's like gravity. You can say gravity doesn't exist. You can protest gravity, but jump off your roof with a backpack of bricks, you're going to be a believer in gravity the hard way. No matter what side of the issue you're on, you're going to learn what's real and what's not. And the God of Israel is real. And we love Israel. And we love you. So as we wind down our last couple of minutes, Avi, what would you encourage our viewers to do in regards to Israel and in regards to your ministry and also in regards to GLC?
Well, again, I say this on every show that we do, that prayer avails much. And I know, because I've seen it happen so many times, that during my travels in the US or my travels in any country of the world, I almost got killed, 10 times in traffic accidents and sicknesses and in the army. Hey, listen, to get to 73, usually you need a few tricks up your sleeve to stay alive. So I'm very, very blessed. Prayer does avail much. And, I never heard God's voice, but I feel like an internal voice from God, saying to me, this is what you need to do, or this is what you need not. If there's something wrong, stop me. And until now, God is pushing me forward. So I continue. And my wife and my sons, how much time do we have?
We're winding down to the minute. 1 minute.
Okay, I'll say it real quick. Once my son Aaron said to me, "Why are you creating a party? Isn't it enough that you are a grandpa and you have your wife and your children and your grandkids and your house? And why don't you just retire?" And I said to my son, "Hey, wait a second. Who gave me my wife? God. Who gave me my children? God. Who gave me my grandchildren and my house and my health? God. And he can take it all away. God is a mafia God. And if you have committed yourself to God, you go all the way to the last breath."
There you go. God uses who he wants, how he wants, when he wants. He used Pharaoh.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? The same God that named the stars knows your name, and he loves you.
Amen.
And, he loves you. How much more should we live for him as we see the fulfillment of all things, folks? So at the end of the day, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. There's no in between. You don't have that luxury. So be a part of the solution. Pray for the peace of Israel. Support Avi, especially if you committed to. Support the work of GLC. It's the only network of its kind. You want the good news shared? Put your money where your mouth is, please. glc.us.com/give. I'm a volunteer. I don't want their money. I don't make their money. I'm happy to serve as you are, my friend Avi. Thank you for being with us again. As goes Israel, so goes the world. We'll see you next time, my friend.
Amen.